Proceeding further, we move on to the second session of today's webinar in the two-day webinar program. I'm privileged to introduce Dr. VMSN Pavan Kumar Chowdhury sir as the resource person for the second session in today's webinar on the topic Design of Amplifiers and its Applications. I extend my heartfelt thanks to the speaker for accepting the invitation in spite of his busy schedule. Now, I request R. Akhila, 2nd MECS, Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College, to read the speaker's profile. Over to you, Akhila.
I'm extremely happy to introduce today's speaker for the second session, Dr. VMSN Pavan Kumar Chowdhury sir. Dr. VMSN Pavan Kumar Chowdhury sir has been working as an associate professor, Department of ECE in Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, Tirupati. He obtained Bachelor of Technology in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering from the JNTU, Kakinada, and postgraduate in communication engineering and signals from Acharya Nagarjuna University, Guntur, and PhD in wireless communications from Pondicherry Central University, Pondicherry. He is a member in IAENG and STWC and published 20 plus papers in national and international journals and conferences. He presented many technical lectures in various scientific forums. He has published various book chapters and patents. He was invited to deliver the lecture in various institutions. Dr. Pavan Kumar Chowdhury sir was continuously upgrading his expertise in the areas of heterogeneous network, conjugative spectrum sensing, physical layer issues in 5G, microstrip antennas. He has served as external examiner for bachelor theses at various institutions. He was peer reviewer for various referred journals. Over to you, Lahari.
Thank you, Akhila. I feel it an honor to invite the resource person for the second session in today's webinar, Dr. VMSN Pavan Kumar Chowdhury sir, to enlighten us about the amplifiers and its applications. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Sir, can you make it as a co-host, madam?
Yeah. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can you make as a co-host, sir?
Yes, sir. You are co-host.
I am unable to share my screen, sir.
Yes, sir. You are co-host.
Okay, sir. Are you able to see my screen, madam?
Yeah, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go for it.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Pavan Kumar, working as an associate professor in the Department of ECE. Today, I am going to deliver a talk on design of amplifiers and its applications. So, first of all, if you want to learn any concept, we have to know about the importance of it. So, why we have to study about the amplifiers? As an electronics engineer, where we are going to use these amplifiers? Suppose when you are going in the classroom capacity is very limited, so only 60 students are available. So our voice is enough to reach to the students. So when you are going to the auditorium, so the capacity of the auditorium is large. So we are not in a position to reach our voice at the end of the auditorium. So at that time, we have to amplify our signals. So there we need some public addressing systems. It is like as a mic sets, simple. So we are seeing so many public addressing systems in various meetings, in conferences and conference halls and all. So first of all, we'll see the amplifier definition. So the definition of an amplifier is, it is going to strengthen the input signal. What type of input signal you are connecting? Whether you are connecting your voice signal, or whether you are connecting your audio signal, or you are connecting your video signal. These are the main three types of input signals we are going to connect to an amplifier. So amplifier is a device. It is an electronic circuit, or if it is a device, it will amplify the input signal strength without changing frequency. So we have to be very particular in this situation. So if you take any signal, the signal is having three properties. One is amplitude, second one is phase, and third one is frequency. So here amplifier is amplifying your amplitude only. It is not going to change your phase. It is not going to touch your frequency. Suppose if the frequency changes, what will happen? So simple example is, so if you take voice signal frequency here, I have mentioned here, the voice signal frequency is in the range of 300 Hz to 3.5 kHz. This is your voice signal frequency. Normally, a human being can able to generate frequencies in this frequency range only, 300 Hz to 3.5 kHz. So within the out of this entire range, so the frequencies of male human being is different, the frequencies of females is different. Similarly, the frequencies of children are different. So if you consider male voice, in the male voice, the frequency is less and the amplitude will be more, nothing but pitch will be high. So in case of male voice, if you go to the female voice, the frequency will be large compared with your male voice. That's why female voice can reach longer distances. That is the reason why if the females are speaking, we can able to listen from longer distances also. So similarly, if you go with the children, compared with the female voice, the frequency of the children are very high. So that's why when the children are crying, we are unable to tolerate that voice. The reason is the frequencies of the children is too high. That is irritating our human ears. That's why the frequencies are different. So nowadays we are seeing some mobile apps. So when you are speaking as a male, the app is converting that voice into female voice. Similarly, when you are speaking as a female voice, that app is converting as a male voice. The app is doing frequency shifting. It is not at all doing any other thing. Just it is shifting your frequency. Male voice is having low frequency and female voice is having high frequency. Just it is shifting your frequency and it is keeping as it is your amplitude and your phase. But here amplifier is different. Amplifier is not going to touch your frequency and phase. It is going to increase your amplitude. So it is going to increase your amplitude. Whatever you are speaking, same thing has to come. It should not be some other voice. It should not be some other matter. So whatever you are speaking, same thing has to come. So that is the purpose of an amplifier. So based on the type of the input signal, we are going to classify the amplifiers as whether it is an audio amplifier or video amplifier or a voice amplifier. Voice amplifier means it is a public addressing system. So if you are applying audio signal, the audio signal frequency is in the order of 20 Hz to 20 kHz. So audio signal is in the range of 20 Hz to 20 kHz. This is the audio we can able to hear. Voice means we can able to generate. So you can see here your voice frequencies are within your audio frequencies only. So next one is video signals. Video signals is 0 to 4.5 megahertz. It is somewhat higher signals compared with your voice and audio. So if you are amplifying your video, then the amplifier is called as video amplifier. That depends on application. So whether you are using your amplifier for what purpose? What is the application? So based on the application only, we are going to design the amplifiers. Not only amplifiers, any electronic circuit if you take, so always we have to design based on the request only. As a design engineer, if you speak, if you are a design engineer in your working as a company, so the client will come and they will give the requirement. I want some amplifier for this room capacity of this much. So the noise level should be this much. Like that, they will give the specifications. Based on the specifications, we have to design the amplifier. So here output is fixed. We are not going to change the output. That means the client is giving the output. So output is fixed here. So as per the requirement, we are designing the amplifiers. So as a design engineer, it is very difficult. Normally, if you say here gain means output by input. So people used to think that gain is increasing means it is output is increasing. It is not the case. Why? Because if you take any design engineer job, the client will come and give the output. So the output is fixed here. So you are not going to change the output. So output is fixed. The only possibility is to increase the gain, the input has to be decreases. So the input has to be decreases means your voice level should be low. Even though your voice level is low, your amplifier is responding for that. So if you take my earphones of a normal company and a high company, a branded version, I think you can feel the difference when you are listening some music or some videos. The quality of audio will be different for using different microphones or earphones. So if you are having a good gain amplifier, so the input should be low. When the input is low, the gain will be high. So input is low means Even a small variation in your voice signal also, your circuit is responding. So the calibration is good. So your circuit is responding for a minute variation in your voice also. Suppose if you are listening some music, so different instruments will give different types of frequencies and different field. So if your amplifier is responding for a small variations also, then you can able to listen the actual feel of the music and actual feel of the instruments also. Suppose if you are using a low quality amplifier, so the quality of the voice will be common. We cannot able to distinguish what type of instruments they are playing. So that is the case. So whether you are using for audio purpose or video purpose or for voice purpose, based on the application, we are going to decide your amplifier. Based on the application, we are going to change the design process also. So for the design of amplifier, we have seen the definition. What type of device is required? So we have studied about different devices. As a electronic student, we will study about different devices, nothing but different transistors. So which transistor is more suitable for amplification? If you see broadly, transistors are classified into two types: current control devices and voltage control devices. So in case of current control devices, BJT is an example for it. In case of voltage control devices, field effect transistors, FETs are an example for it. So if you take BJT, again two types of BJTs are available: NPN transistor and PNP transistor. So in case of JFET, field effect transistors, we are having two types: JFET and MOSFET. Again JFET, we are having two types: N channel and P channel. So everyone knows about this classification, fundamentals of electronics. So if you take MOSFET, two types of operation is possible based on the wafer thickness. So if the wafer thickness is less, then it is enhancement mode. If the thickness of the wafer is more, then it is depletion mode MOSFET. So again, it will be NMOS, PMOS, CMOS, and BiCMOS. So if you are speaking with respect to N type, then it is NMOS. If you are taking P type as the majority, nothing but holes as the majority, then it is the PMOS. If we combine both NMOS as well as PMOS, then we are going to get CMOS, nothing but complementary metal oxide semiconductors. Nowadays, most of the cases we are using these CMOS technologies only, because the power consumption is very less for CMOS and the fan out is very more for CMOS. That's why majority of the cases we are taking CMOS. So another category is there, that is BiCMOS. That is combination of this bipolar technology and this unipolar technology. So the name itself indicating it is a bipolar junction transistors. So in case of BJT, the current, whatever the current we are getting, that is from both. Both means it is from the majority as well as minority carriers. In case of field effect transistors, whatever the current you are getting, that current is from the only majority carriers. There is no concept of minority carriers in case of field effect transistors. So if you take BJT, we are having two types of current, that is majority current and minority current. That's why you are calling it as bipolar junction transistors. So you are having so many things, that is here you can see PNP symbol, NPN symbol, and FET symbol. So whatever may be the transistor, the terminals are common, only three terminals we are having. So if you take BJT, emitter, collector, and base, and if you take FET, it may be MOSFET or JFET, source, drain, and gate. So only three terminals we are having. So three terminals we are having means at a time we are going to make one terminal as common between input and output. So based on that, you have to give supply here and you have to take output here. So input junction will be there, output junction will be there. So two junctions will be formed. One is at the input side, another one is at the output side. I am speaking commonly. I am not sticking onto a particular transistor. So it may be any transistor, we are having two junctions only. That may be input junction or output junction. So based on that, we can able to give biasing for it. So if you are giving forward bias and reverse bias, these are the two possible biasing techniques we are having. Based on that, if you form the combinations, so input junction and output junction both may be forward bias. Input junction is forward bias, output junction is reverse bias. Input junction is reverse bias, output junction is forward bias. Input junction is reverse bias, output junction is reverse bias. These are the four possible combinations. I think you might have known about STLD. If you are having two variables with us, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. These are the four possible combinations. Here, I am having forward bias and reverse bias with me. So I am writing all possible combinations. So if your input junction is forward bias, output junction is forward bias, your transistor is working in the saturation region. So input junction is forward bias, output junction is reverse bias, your transistor is working in the active region or nothing but linear region also. So both are same. Suppose if you take input junction is reverse bias, output junction is forward bias, your transistor is working as in the inversion region. So most of our textbooks, they won't discuss about this inversion region. They will take only 3 regions of operation. So if you take both the reverse bias, then your transistor will operate in cutoff region. So I am not speaking with respect to single transistor. It may be FET or MOSFET or anything. So this is common. So based on the biasing, your region of operation will be decided. So if you take any transistor, only 2 applications now. Only 2 applications will be available. One is the amplifier, second one is the switch. If you take any transistor, it may be FET or MOSFET or anything, only 2 applications will be there. It may be a switch or it may be an amplifier. So we have studied about 3 devices here: BJT, JFET, MOSFET. So what type of device I have to consider for amplification? That is my job. That is my question. So whether I have to take BJT or JFET or MOSFET, which device is more suitable? So if you take amplification, so you have to operate your transistor in the active region. So you can see the applications here. When the transistor is in the saturation region, your transistor will be in the, your application is on switch. Your transistor is in the cutoff region, it will work as a off switch. So switch means we are having 2 positions, on switch as well as off switch. So when the transistor is operating in saturation, it is the on switch. When the transistor is working in the cutoff region, it is the off switch. So if your transistor is working in the active region or linear region, then it will be the amplifier. It will act as an amplifier. So in the inversion region, transistor acts as a just like as a resistor. So we are not ready to use your transistor as a resistor. Why? Because the cost of the resistor is only 10 paisa or 50 paisa. If you take a transistor cost is around 2 to 3 rupees. To operate the transistor, we have to forward bias as well as reverse bias. Forward bias means you have to connect one battery. For the reverse operation also, we have to connect one more battery. So the battery cost of 12 volts battery is around 40 to 50 rupees. So around 2 batteries are required. So nearly 100 rupees of batteries you have to use for operation of a 2 rupees transistor. So that will make as a resistor. So the cost of the resistor is only 50 paisa, not even 50 paisa. So this is a meaningless thing. So in the market, so many resistors are available. So we are not ready to use your transistor as a resistor. That's why most of the cases we won't discuss about this inversion region. So we are going to discuss about your transistor will work in the 3 regions only. So one is saturation, on switch, active region, amplifier, and cutoff region, off switch. So you can see here, this is the characteristics of a BJT. So this is the characteristics of the BJT. So if you take the BJT, this is the cutoff region. You can see here, the cutoff region is very, very small. And this one is saturation region. This one also very small. And you can see the length of the active region. The active region length is more in case of BJT. So if you want to design an amplifier, your transistor has to work in the active region. So in case of BJT, the length of the active region is more. That's why BJT is more suitable for amplification. So that's why normally we can use to say that wherever amplifier is there, BJT will be there. So most of the cases will take BJT as the device for the manufacturing of amplifiers. So if you go to the MOSFET, ideally if you speak, there is no active region. Active region is 0 in case of MOSFET, ideally if you speak. So there is only 2 regions in the MOSFET. That may be saturation region or it may be cutoff region. So if the transistor is in the saturation region, it is the on switch. If the transistor is in the cutoff region, it is the off switch. So it is in the either logic 1 state or in the logic 0 state. Nowadays, we are using all digital technologies. Digital technology stands with only 2 bits, whether it may be 1 bit or 0, logic 0 or logic 1. Logic 1 means on switch, logic 0 means off switch. So in case of digital, we are going to use MOSFETs. That's why majority of the ICs today what we are using, all the ICs are fabricated with the help of MOSFETs only. So type of MOSFETs, so many advanced versions of MOSFETs came, CNT FETs, MESFETs, FinFETs, so many FETs came. So those devices we are using in the fabrication industry because we are handling with the digital. So when you are going with the digital, so you have to be in the logic 1 or logic 0. So if you are switching on, so you should not be switch on after 5 minutes, after 5 seconds. So when you are switching on your fan, it should not be switch on after 5 seconds. It has to be start immediately. So the switching speed should be high. So in case of BJT, active region is there. BJT also will act as a switch, but it will take certain amount of time to cross active region and to enter into the saturation region. So similarly, when the switch is in the on position, if you want to switch off, it has to cross entire active region to enter into the cutoff region. It will take certain amount of time. So that's why it is a poor switch. BJT is not suitable for switching applications, but it is a very good amplifier. So if you go to the MOSFET, complete opposite scenario. So there is no active region, so it is not a perfect amplifier. It is a poor amplifier. So, but active region is 0. It may be in the logic 1 state or it may be in the logic 0 state. That's why it is more suitable for switching applications. So if you take JFET, it is a moderate behavior. It is not a okay behavior. It is not a proper switch. It is not a proper amplifier. So it is a okay behavior. That's why JFET is suitable for normal applications. We are not going to use for a specific application JFET amplifiers. So BJT is more suitable for amplification. That's why entire amplifiers, whatever the amplifiers we are going to study, everything we are going to design based on the BJT only. Nowadays, MOSFET amplifiers also came. The application is different. The input impedance is high. In case of MOSFET, I will tell you what is the importance of input impedance. So if you see the classification, later on we are coming to the classification. First of all, we have seen definition of an amplifier. Next, we have seen what is the device which is useful for design of amplifiers. So we came to know that BJT is more suitable for amplification. So now I am designing amplifiers. Before designing, so I have to know what type of amplifiers are available. So based on the type of classification, we are going to discuss different types. So here, first of all, I am classifying based on the number of stages. So if the number of stages are single stage, then it is a single stage amplifier. If you are having only one stage with you, then it is a single stage amplifier. If you are having multiple stages with you, that is more than 2 stages, then it is called as a multi-stage amplifier. So the advantage of multi-stage amplifiers is the gain of the amplifier will increase. So when you are having 2 blocks, nothing but 2 amplifiers stages, so the overall gain is product of individual stage gains, not addition. So because of that product, the overall gain will increase rapidly. So next one is based on the input signals. What type of input signals you are connecting? So whether you are connecting small signal or large signal. So if you are connecting small signal, then it is called as small signal amplifiers. If you are connecting large signals, then it is called as large signal amplifiers. Next based on configuration. You are using a transistor. That transistor, nothing but BJT. BJT is having 3 terminals, emitter, base, and collector. Based on that, we are going to decide the configuration: common emitter, common collector, and common base amplifiers. Next one is based on the operating point, where you are going to keep your operating point. So operating point is at the center of the active region, then it is class A. If it is near to the cutoff region, then it is class B. We will discuss these classes when you are discussing about the power amplifiers. At the end, we will discuss about this classification based on the operating point. Next one is based on the input impedance and based on the output impedance. So how your input impedance is and how your output impedance is. Based on these 2 parameters, this is the 4 types of amplifiers. These 4 amplifiers we are going to discuss in detail when we are discussing about feedback amplifiers. So we are going to add feedback. So normally at the end of the session, we used to take feedback. The purpose of any feedback is to improve the performance. Similarly, in the case of amplifiers also, to improve the performance of an amplifier, we are going to connect feedback. If the feedback is there, then the amplifier performance will be increased. So in that applications, we are going to consider input impedance and output impedance. Based on that, we are having 4 types of amplifiers. So this we will discuss when we are discussing about the feedback amplifiers. So when you are going for multi-stages, so I am having single stage with me, I am adding second stage also. So to connect these 2 stages, I need some coupling mechanism. So this coupling mechanism, we are having 3 types of coupling mechanism. So one is RC coupled amplifier, direct coupled, and transformer coupled. So RC coupled, normally we used to use this one in public addressing systems. Why? Because the cost of resistor and capacitor is very low. That's why this is useful for design of public addressing systems. Direct coupled amplifier, so direct coupling, it is having some advantages, similarly disadvantages also. So this direct coupling we are going to use in the design of amplifier operational amplifiers. So transformer coupling we are going to use in the power amplifiers design. Next one, if you see based on the output signal. So first of all, we have seen based on the input signal. Now we are seeing based on the output signal. If your output is voltage, then it is called as voltage amplifiers. If it is current, then it is called as current amplifiers. If it is power, it is the power amplifiers. Next one, based on the frequency of operation. All the amplifiers won't operate in as a common. So certain amplifiers will work with certain frequencies. So if your application, you have to be specific. So first of all, you know for what purpose you are designing your amplifier. So if your application is for the low frequency, then it is audio amplifier. Audio frequencies already you have seen 20 Hz to 20 kHz. If your application is high frequency, suppose we are speaking with respect to communication. So if you are designing your amplifier for the communication purpose, wireless communication, normally we used to handle with megahertz of frequency and gigahertz of frequency. Nowadays your mobile phones, satellites, everything is wireless communication. When you are going for wireless communication, obviously the frequency should be high. The reason is to reduce the antenna height. So if you want to use short length of antennas, we have to use more frequencies. So we have to go with the high frequencies, nothing but radio frequencies. So IF frequencies are nothing but intermediate frequencies. In between these two, some intermediate range of frequencies are there. So that is called as IF, intermediate frequency. So what type of frequency you are designing? So that you have to decide. Based on that, this is the amplifier type. So based on the bandwidth, so your application is narrow band or wide band. Suppose if you take FM radio as an example. So you have to specify that I have to tune to the big FM. So the big FM is 93.5 megahertz. That is known to everyone. 92.3, 93.5. So these are the channels, FM channels. So each channel is having one frequency with it. So you have to specific enough to tune to that particular frequency only. So here application is very narrow. My application is I have to tune to the single frequency. So previous days AM radios are there. Nowadays we are using FM radios. Even though if you take TVs, each channel is having some frequency. So I think you have a auto tune option. So once you can press your auto tune option and you can see the frequency shifting in the channels. So channels are varying very fastly. For every channel, one frequency will be shifting. So the frequency shifting is based on the channel frequency. So that channel, we have to tune to a particular channel, then you can able to see that channel. So here the application is narrow. So those at that time, I'm going to use narrow band amplifiers. Normally, in case of public addressing systems and all, I'm going to use wide band amplifiers. So depends on application, I'm going to decide my type of the amplifier and type of the design process. So that's what I'm going to say. These are the different types of classification. So next of all, we have decided that we have to operate your transistor in the active region. So the entire active region. So this is the cutoff and this is the saturation. In this active region, your transistor is going to work as an amplifier. So if you put a one question that in the entire active region, your transistor is work as an amplifier, obviously the answer is yes. In the entire active region, the transistor is going to work as an amplifier, but it won't act as a faithful amplifier. Amplification is different, faithful amplification is different. Amplification means the signal has to be amplified, that's all. Faithful amplification means noise-free, distortion-free amplification. There should not be noise in it, there should not be distortion in the signal. Whatever the input signal you are giving, exactly the output signal has to be replicated with increased amplitude. Suppose if you are using some mic set, whatever you are speaking, same thing has to come out with increased voice, that's all. So there should not be any noise, there should not be any distortion. So that type of amplification is called as faithful amplification. You can see here, faithful amplification. Before that, you can see, suppose faithful amplification, when you are going to get, if you are keeping your operating point at the center of the active region. So this is the entire active region. So if you keep your operating point at the center, then you will get the faithful amplification. Why it is, we'll see. Suppose if your operating point is near to the cutoff region, so you can see the signal here. The signal is, this portion of signal is clipping out. Why? Because it is out of the range. So this is the range of the signal. So if your operating point is at near to the cutoff region, some amount of signal is clipping off. So we are losing some information. So whatever you are speaking, exact same information won't come. Some amount of information will be lost. So it is not proper amplification in case of amplifiers. Similarly, if you take your operating point is near to the saturation, this is the saturation region. If you select at this point, it is near to the saturation. Here also some type of clipping happening this side. So in case of here, clipping is happening at the positive side. Here clipping is happening at the negative side. So that's why we are going to select your operating point at the center of the active region. If you select your operating point at the center, after amplification also your signal will be within the range only. So there is no clipping off. That means the signal is faithful amplification. So there should not be noise, there should not be distortion. So if you want to get such type of amplification, we have to keep your operating point at the center. Normally, when you go into the laboratory or if you want to design an amplifier, we won't do all this process. We won't select your operating point. So for every particular transistor, the operating point is different. So that will be specified by the manufacturer. So if you purchase any transistor, the data sheet will be given to you. So if you purchase any electronic device, the data sheet will be given to you. Similarly, if you take any transistor also, that transistor, the series of transistor will have some specifications, nothing but data sheet, which is provided by the manufacturer. So your Q point will be specified by the manufacturer. So some parameters will be specified by the manufacturer. What are the points is your Q point, nothing but operating point, where you are operating your transistor. You are operating your transistor at the center or here or here. So that will be decided based on the selection of your Q point, quiescent point, Q means. So Q point selection, it is a different scenario. So I think when you know about biasing concept, then you will discuss about this Q point selection. So biasing is very, very interesting subject. The reason is, if you see, the transistor current equation, IC is equal to IC is equal to beta IB plus 1 plus beta into ICBO. I am not boring you. I am going to give the importance of this equation, nothing but importance of biasing. So IC is the output current. Your output current depends on IB. This is one of the parameter. IB is nothing but if you take CE amplifier. So this is a CE amplifier. So IB is the input current. Whatever the input signal you are connecting. What is the input signal? Your voice signal is the input signal. So whatever the input signal you are connecting, based on that, IB will be decided. So while you are designing your amplifier, you don't know who is going to use this amplifier. So if you are designing one public addressing system, so where you are going to use this public addressing system, you don't know. Similarly, who is going to speak, you don't know. Person to person, the voice will be different. So, but that means the input signal is depends on the who is using, that it depends on the user. So who is using this amplifier? So input signal is not depends on our hands. So as an engineer, if you speak, input signal is not in our hands. Nothing but IB, input current, is not in our hands. We are not going to control this input current. So next parameter is beta. Beta is nothing but gain of an amplifier, reverse transfer ratio. So beta will be specified by the manufacturer. So if you take a transistor, beta will be different for each and every transistor. Same company, same time, at a time they are manufacturing a bulk of transistors, even though no two transistor parameters are same in the universe. So if you take any two transistor, no two transistor parameters are not same. So parameters are different for transistor to transistor. That is the specialty of the transistor. If you take human being, person to person, obviously the features will be different. Even though faces are same, the behavior will be different. Same thing will be happen in case of transistors also. Same company, same time, a bunch of transistors are manufacturing, but no two transistor parameters are unique. So that is the specialty of the transistors. So beta, this is going to be specified by the manufacturer. We don't know what is the value of the beta. So beta is not in our hands. This is in the hands of manufacturer. Next one is ICBO. ICBO is the reverse saturation current. So it depends on temperature. So whatever I am discussing, all the transistors, amplifiers, all are analog devices. We are going to handle with analog signals. Your voice signal is an analog signal, not a digital signal. So we are not going to convert this analog into digital. So we are processing directly. So yeah, whatever the processing we are doing here is analog processing only. So analog circuits, if you take, so your transistor parameters are dependent of temperature. So if the temperature increases, then reverse saturation current will increase. So there is some sentence that for every 10 degrees centigrade rise in temperature, your reverse saturation current will be doubled. So as the temperature is increasing, this reverse saturation current is increasing. So that means temperature we cannot able to control. Why? Because temperature is not in our hands. So we cannot able to control sun. So this ICBO is also not in our hands. So you can see the equation. This is the output current. So if you want to get proper output current, this will depends on either beta or IB or ICBO. So beta is there in the hands of manufacturer. IB depends on the user. ICBO depends on the temperature. Nothing is in our hands, even though we have to control the IC. So that is the specialty of biasing. So that's the where importance of biasing comes. So biasing is the heart of any amplifier design process. If you know proper biasing, then only you can able to design the amplifiers properly. So we come back and we'll see. So now we came to know that the importance of faithful amplification. So we have to select your Q point at the center, then only you can able to design the amplifier properly. Then only we can able to get the proper amplification. So for that, so whether you are designing proper amplifier or not, so we have to analyze the amplifier. So I have to perform some analysis on the amplifiers. That is the amplifier analysis. So I have to do some mathematical calculations, whether the amplifier is giving proper performance or not. So that performance is called as amplifier analysis. I am analyzing the performance of the amplifier. So here two types of analysis is there, small signal analysis and large signal analysis. So in the small signal analysis, again two types are there. We are going to analyze at low frequencies or at high frequencies. So large signal amplifiers are power amplifiers. That is a different scenario. So majority of the cases, whatever the amplifiers we are using, those amplifiers are small signal amplifiers only. So why I have told you small signal amplifiers is there is a specific reason, small signal and large signal. It depends on your input signal, whether your input signal is small or large. Based on that, we are going to say whether it is a small signal analysis or large signal analysis. So whatever the input signals you are connecting to an amplifier, that is, suppose you can take your voice signal. The voice signal amplitude is in the order of millivolts. It may be 10 millivolts or 20 millivolts. If you take a transistor, if you take any transistor, if you want to switch on the transistor, if you want to switch on this transistor, there should be some cut-in voltage. So the cut-in voltage is around 0.7 volts. So if you want to switch on this transistor, your input signal should be more than this cut-in voltage, 0.7 volts. But unfortunately, your voice signal is in the order of millivolts. Your millivolt signal is less than the 0.7 volts. Your voice signal unable to switch on your transistor. So that's why biasing is required. Even though your input signal is small, your transistor has to switch on and it has to amplify it. So for that reason, biasing is required. This is another need of biasing. So your input signals are small here, 20 millivolts or 10 millivolts. Your voice signal strength is very weak. It will be in the order of 10 millivolts and 20 millivolts. Whatever I am saying is that is the amplitude, 10 millivolts or 20 millivolts. That's why in the laboratories also, most of the times when you are dealing with the amplifiers, we are going to give input signals as 10 millivolts and 20 millivolts only. We won't give large signals. Only certain amplifiers we are having, which is going to handle with large inputs, nothing but power amplifiers. At that time, we will give more input, nothing but 1 volt or 2 volts we will give during the power amplifiers analysis only. Suppose I am having one question. So as far as the definition is concerned, amplifier is amplifying so amplifier is amplifying the input signals. Suppose assume that I am connecting 10 millivolt signal. My power supply here, whatever the supply, DC supply I am connecting is 20 millivolts, 20 volts supply I am connecting. Suppose I need 40 volts output. Is it possible to come? Again, I am repeating, the input signal's strength is 10 millivolts. Whatever the power supply I have connected is 20 volts, that is the VCC I am connecting. I want 40 volts output. So as far as definition is concerned, your amplifier has to amplify it, whatever may be the extent. So is it come practically? Obviously not. Obviously not. Why? Because your VCC will decide. If you take output equation of any transistor, your VCE, nothing but output voltage, which is equal to VCC minus ICRC. So VCC is the DC supply. So VCC is the DC supply minus something. When you are giving your input signal, whatever the input signal you are connecting, this is a AC signal. AC means your voice is not constant, it is varying. So time to time, the input signal is varying. As the time to time input signal is varying, based on this, your input current will vary. IB will be varying. So if the IB is varying, obviously your output current will be varying. IC will be varying. So if the IC is varying, your output voltage VC is nothing but VCC minus ICRC. This is a KVL equation at the output side. So if your IC is varying, ICRC is varying. If the ICRC is varying, your output voltage is varying. So that nothing but you can observe one thing here. Here nothing magic is happening. So amplifier is not doing something magic. Just it is converting your DC into the AC. That's all. Whenever input signal is presented, according to the changes in the input signal, your IB is varying. So based on that, IC is varying. Your IC is varying means ICRC is varying. When ICRC is varying means your VC is varying. Output voltage is giving based on your input signal only. So if your input signal is absent, suppose there is no input signal during particular instant of time, nothing but input signal is 0, IB is 0, IC is 0, this is 0, output is just DC. So we don't want any DC. So why? Because DC is not a required signal here. So my intention is I want to amplify my signal. So if I want to amplify my signal, whatever the input signal I am giving, that signal will be amplified only. So here when an input signal is presented, the DC is going to convert it into AC. That is the thing happening. So maximum VCC, how much you are connecting? 20 volts only you are connecting. So 20 volts minus something, that is the maximum output. So we cannot able to get more than these 20 volts. So this thing we have to observe practically. So if you see, when the input signal, whatever the input signal, you can assume that this is the IB, it is varying, nothing but based on my input signal, IB is varying. So when the IB is varying, if the variations are small, nothing but variations are small, Q point is not fixed. Q point will be varied based on your input signal. If the input signal is going towards positive side, your Q point is going towards saturation side. If the input side signal is going towards negative side, then Q point is going towards cutoff side. So when the input signal is 0, Q point is at the center. So this is a AC signal. If you consider, initially the signal strength is increasing. At that time, your Q point is going towards saturation side. Again, it will be coming to the 0. Nothing but again, it will come back to the center position. When the input signal is going towards negative side, your Q point is going towards the cutoff side. When the input signal is coming to the 0, again, it will come back to the center position. So Q point variation is there. Q point is not fixed. These Q point variations are based on the input signal. If the input signal is small, then these Q point variations are small. That type of analysis. So if the input variations are small, then the Q point variations are small. If the variations of Q point is below plus or minus 10%, then it is called as small signal analysis. If the input signal variations are large, then the Q point variations are large, then the analysis is, the such type of analysis is called as large signal analysis. This we are going to study in case of power amplifiers. Nowadays, whatever the amplifiers we are using, all are of small signals. Why? Because we are going to use it for public addressing systems and all. So the input signal is always voice signal. Voice signal strength is very less. So that's why these amplifiers are small signal amplifiers. So if you want to analyze these amplifiers, again, two types of analysis will come. Low frequency analysis, high frequency analysis. At low frequencies, we are going to take an assumption that frequency capacity effects are neglected. So by stating that statement only, in the Milliman textbook, they will start the entire chapter. So most of the times we won't see that statement. So if you are not considering the capacitive effects, then your transistor is becoming a linear device. Normally transistor is a non-linear device. So when you are neglecting your capacitances, transistor is becoming a linear device. That's why you are applying linear parameters. H parameters are you are applying at low frequencies. Similarly at high frequencies, we are not going to neglect your capacitances. You are going to consider your capacitances. When you are considering your capacitances, your linear equations not at all satisfied to perform the analysis at high frequencies. That's why you are going for the hybrid pi model. These are the mathematical models. So once if you perform analysis, you will get some parameters. What are the parameters? And what parameters I am going to say whether your amplifier is good or bad. So these are the 4 parameters. If you design any amplifier, whether it is a feedback amplifier, power amplifier, or tuned amplifier, anything, the main parameters what you are going to calculate is these 4 parameters only: input impedance, voltage gain, current gain, and output impedance. Always input impedance should be large. So why? The reason is if the input impedance is large, that means it can able to take little amount of current. Little amount of current means, you can see here, if you take any transistor, only 3 currents will be available, corresponding to 3 terminals, IB, IC, and IE. So the total current IE is equal to IB plus IC. Sorry, IE is equal to IB plus IC. So we have to keep IE is equal to maximum. IC is our output current, IB is our input current. This is the total current we are getting. So if this is less, then your output current will be increased. So we have to minimize the input current. IB should be less. IB should be less. Then only your IC will be increased. So IB should be there. Otherwise, one more equation is there. IC is equal to beta IB. So when you are decreasing IB, that means when you are decreasing the base width of transistor, IB is decreasing, IC will be increasing. If you keep maximum width, so the width of the base is very, very more, then IB becomes 0. When IB becomes 0, obviously your IC also will become 0. Once IC becomes 0, then your application is lost. So we have to be clear enough that IB should be minimum, not 0. So IB is equal to minimum means we have to increase the IC. So IB is the input current. When the input impedance is more, then only the input current will be less. That is the reason why we are going to keep more input impedance for any amplifier. So if you see the ideal characteristics of any amplifier, these are the ideal characteristics. Gain should be infinite. We have to maintain infinite gain. Then only your amplifier is giving proper output. Your impedance should be infinite. Then only your IB will be minimum. Output impedance should be 0. So when the output impedance is less, then only your output current will be large. When the output current is large, then the amplification will be good. That's why you are going to keep output impedance will be 0, ideally if you speak. So practically, we used to say that gain should be large, input impedance should be high, large, output impedance should be minimum. These are the things we used to say. So next thing, if you want to perform analysis, I am going to take the help of two-port networks. So most of the people are familiar with these two-port networks in the network analysis. So we are having 2 ports. This is the first port. This is the second port. So name is port 1. Here the name is port 2. Corresponding voltage V1 I1. Corresponding voltage V2 I2. So if you compare your transistor with these 2-port networks, your transistor is also having 2 terminals at the input side, 2 terminals at the output side. So one input side terminals are called as input port. Output side terminals are called as output port. So if you take 2-port network, it is a linear network. Your transistor is a nonlinear device. So how we are taking your linear equations to consider as a nonlinear device? So we are working with a nonlinear device, but the equations what we are considering is linear equations. Where the approximation came is we are neglecting the capacitive effects at a low frequencies. So when the capacitive effects are neglected, then your transistor is becoming a linear. That too, you are going to operate your transistor in the active region. The other name of active region is linear region. So in that region, your transistor is going to work as a linear device. That's why we are going to take these linear equations for the analysis of your transistors. So here, so many parameters are there. Out of all the parameters, we are going to take H parameters. The reason is, if you take H parameter equations, whatever the parameter we are getting here, how we are getting is only from these 4 variables, V1, I1, V2, and I2. 4 variables we are having. Out of 4, we are going to make 2 as the dependent and 2 as the independent. Based on that, we used to get different combinations. Here, if you see, V1, V2 are dependent, I1, I2 are independent. Here, I1, I2 are dependent, V1, V2 are independent. So based on that combinations, we are going to get 6 type of parameters. Out of 6, your H parameters, if you see, V1, I2, these are dependent, I1, V2 are independent. These are more suitable for your amplifiers. The reason is, I will show you here. If you calculate the H parameters, H11, H12, H21, and H22, these are the values. If you calculate these values, so how you are going to calculate? If you keep V2 is equal to 0, I am going to find out H11 and H21. When I keep I1 is equal to 0, I am going to find out these two, H12 and H22. Same thing I am doing. I am making V2 is equal to 0. These two are 0. I am going to find out H11 and H21. Next time, what I am doing is I am making I1 is equal to 0. When I1 is 0, I am going to find out these 2 parameters, H12 and H22. So based on that, V2 is 0 means voltage is 0. Voltage is 0 means short circuited. So V2 is the output voltage. When output voltage is short circuited, we are finding this. That's why these are called as short circuit parameters. These two are short circuit. So I1 is 0. I1 is 0 means current is 0. Input current is 0. So current is 0 means open circuited. So input is open circuited. Based on this, we are finding these two parameters. That's why these two are open circuit parameters. If you see this is the voltage by current, nothing but impedance. This is the voltage by voltage. This is the gain. This is the current by current, nothing but current gain. Here, current by voltage, nothing but admittance, opposite of your impedance. So these four parameters are resembles like as your transistor parameters or amplifier parameters. So one input impedance, one output admittance, one voltage gain, and one current gain. Already we have seen the parameters of an amplifier: input impedance, voltage gain, current gain, and output impedance. So your H parameters are resembling like as these amplifier parameters. That's why we are going to take the H parameter help for the analysis of transistors. So based on that, your H parameter circuit is this one. Based on that, we are generalizing for a CE amplifier. So you can compare this linear network with your CE. So this one with this one. So we can able to draw the H parameter equivalent circuit. Everyone is familiar with this. So I need not to explain much more on this. So based on that CE, CC, and CB, we are drawing the H parameter equivalent circuits. So based on that, we are writing the equations. Once if you know the H parameter equivalent circuit, nothing but this is the equivalent circuit of your transistor. This is the equivalent circuit of your transistor. If your circuit is your transistor in the CE, then this is the equivalent circuit. Your transistor in the CC, this is the equivalent circuit. Your transistor in the CB, this is the equivalent circuit. For this, what are the extra components you are connecting? Same components you have to connect for this equivalent circuit, and you have to start performing analysis by using KVL or KCL, whatever the network analysis technique you can apply, and you can find out the four parameters. What are the four parameters? Input impedance, output impedance, voltage gain, and current gain. Any amplifier, these are the only four parameters we are going to find out. So this is a CE amplifier with emitter resistor. This is a practically usable circuit, CE amplifier circuit with a full-fledged notation. So this is a cell bias circuit. Out of three biasing techniques, we are having cell bias is the more popular. Biasing is not a new thing. Previously, we have discussed input should be forward bias, output should be reverse bias. So that means input one battery is required, output one battery is required. Transistor cost is only 5 rupees or 2 rupees. Your batteries cost are 100 rupees. It is not a proper design as a design engineer point of view. So we have to reduce the cost. If you want to reduce the cost, instead of using two batteries, I can use single battery. So that's why I am connecting single battery. Same battery I am connecting for output, same battery I am connecting for input also as a potential divider. So that's why based on that, we are having three biasing techniques: fixed bias, character base bias, and cell bias. Out of three, because of various reasons, your cell bias is popular. So I am selected cell bias. This is my input signal. Whatever the input signal or voice signal, whichever I am connecting. My voice signal should be AC. There should not be any DC here. So if any DC is there, that will be blocked by this coupling capacitor. Similarly, this transistor will be switched on because of this biasing circuitry. I am going to collect my output at this point. This is the output terminal, nothing but collector terminal. So here, if you calculate H parameter equations, your voltage gain will be dependent of H parameters. Unfortunately, sir, tell me, sir. Somebody raise their hand. Somebody raise their hand. Is there any doubt?
Srinivas sir, please respond.
Sir, please continue, sir.
Okay, sir. How much time is there, sir?
Sir, already 4:20, sir, end time.
Okay, sir. I will wind up within 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So if you calculate mathematically the equations of voltage gain, normally we used to work with voltage amplifiers. So we are specific about voltage gain. So if you calculate voltage gain, that voltage gain will be dependent on H parameter values. So already we have seen what is meant by H parameters: H11, H12, H21, H22. Those are the H parameter values. So these H parameters are dependent of temperature again. So this variation, how your H parameters are varying with the temperature, that also will be specified by the manufacturer only. So H parameters are not constant. It is varying with respect to temperature. if you are using your amplifier, temperature is varying. So based on the temperature, your H parameters are varying. So based on that, your gain is varying. If your gain is varying, obviously when you are using your my public addressing system, sometimes you are getting high pitch, sometimes you are getting low pitch, sometimes you are getting distortion, sometimes you are getting noise. So this is not a proper amplification. That means your voltage gain should be stabilized. It should not be varied. So if you want to stabilize the gain, we have to make your voltage gain should be independent of H parameters. To make that, I am connecting one emitter resistor here. So this emitter resistor is stabilizing your network. That's why this resistor is called as stabilizer resistor or stabilization resistor. So unfortunately, this resistor is providing negative feedback. If negative feedback is there, then the gain will be decreased. Obviously, we are designing for a good gain, but because of this resistor, stabilization we are getting, but we are losing our gain. So we should not lose. That's why to bypass this path, I'm connecting one bypass capacitor here. So I'm going to select the capacitance value is large here. So then it will act as a short circuit. If it is short circuit, majority of the current will flow here. A minimum amount of current will be flowing in the RE. So both the purposes are satisfying. So we are not going to get we are going to get the stabilization, and we are not going to get the problem of negative feedback effect. So that's why this is a more practically usable circuit as a single stage amplifier. So if you see the frequency response, this is the frequency response, low frequency response, mid frequency response, high frequency response. Normally, this is the frequency response of any amplifier. In the laboratory also, we used to take, by varying the frequencies of your input signal, we are going to calculate the output signal. Once if we know the output signal, already input signal is known, we can able to find out the gain. This is the frequency response curve. If you want to analyze this curve at low frequencies, I am going to take the help of high pass filter. So high pass filter characteristics is like this. This is same as your amplifier low frequency characteristics. Same thing will happen at the high frequencies. So if you see the amplifier high frequency characteristics, it is same as your low pass filter characteristics. So if you know how to analyze, how to design your low pass filter and how to design your high pass filter, then proper amplifier should be designed. So normally, why we have to go for frequency domain is to reduce the calculations. If you are designing any circuit in the time domain, the complexity will be large. Why? Because if you want to analyze any system in the time domain, you have to take the help of differential equations. If you go with the differential equations, the solution is complementary function plus particular integral. So if your differential equation is second order, okay, no problem. You can able to remember the cases of particular integral and you can solve it. When you are going for higher order systems, we cannot able to remember so many cases of your particular integral. You cannot able to solve that. So the analysis becomes complex. That's why we are going for frequency domain by applying some transformation. So this is a frequency response, low frequency filter, low pass filter and high pass filter. If you design these filters properly, then you can able to decide your gain properly. So when you are going for multi-stages based on the coupling schemes, the advantage and disadvantage will come. I am stopping at this point. So the continuation of this, we have seen only one single stage amplifier. If you connect same type, then you will get multi-stage. If you connect feedback for it, then you will get feedback amplifiers. If you want to reduce the power wastage, we have to go for the power amplifiers. If you want to work with the narrow band applications, we have to go with the tuned amplifiers. So depends on application, we are going to design our circuit. So that's the conclusion.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Ms. V. Akanksha, 3rd BSc, to pass on any questions or clarifications to the resource person. Over to you, Akanksha.
First question is, sir, what is the need of emitter bypass capacitor?
Already I have told you about that. The emitter bypass capacitor is, so to bypass this emitter resistor, if you have more amount of current is flowing in this emitter resistor, because of negative feedback, the gain of the amplifier will be decreased. So it should not happen. So we have to maintain proper gain and we have to maintain stabilization also. If you want to maintain proper gain means we have to bypass this path. To bypass this, I am connecting one capacitor with large value. Then it will act as a short circuit. Then majority of the current will flow in this. A minimum amount of current will flow in the emitter resistor. So in that way, we are getting the two things. That is stabilizer gain and proper amplification.
Is DC isolation problem is there in direct coupling. Why we are using it in operational amplifiers?
Out of all the amplifiers, op amp is so peculiar. So it is having is the only amplifier in the universe which is having both gain as infinite and bandwidth as infinite. No other amplifier is having this peculiar property. If you want to get gain as infinite and bandwidth as infinite, if you want to increase the bandwidth, the only possibility is we have to go with direct coupling. So if you are going with direct coupling, the problem is DC isolation. From first stage to second stage, DC current is flowing. Because of that, the second stage operating point will be shifted. So this is called as DC isolation problem. This will be overcome with the help of current mirror circuit, which is available in op-amp. So current mirror circuit is satisfying that purpose.
Last question, sir. Why we have to keep power amplifiers as the last stage?
So the ultimate motto is we have to reduce the power wastage. So whatever the work we want, we are going to work with the voltage amplifiers or current amplifiers. Once the required signal is ready with us, we are going to reduce the power wastage by sending to the power amplifier stage. So that's why always if you take any analog circuit, the final stage should be power amplifier stage. This is a default thing. If you take any IC, 555 timer or 741 IC, anything, the final stage should be power amplifier stage.
That's it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We are very much thankful to you, sir, for making us clearly understand the design of amplifiers and its applications. Thank you so much, sir, for spending your valuable time to enlighten us. Now, I request Mr. K. Murli Mohan, sir, Head Department of Mathematical Sciences, to purport vote of thanks on the first day of the two-day webinar program. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Lahari. Madam, before that, I request Principal Madam to speak few words about
yes, sir.
present
Thank you,
speaker,
sir.
madam.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to tell sir that sir's presentation was very elaborate. So, like, you know, most of us could understand. Sir, very happy to share with you that I had to go through all these things when I was working with MHRD. So I was a full-time faculty in Institute of Advanced Studies in Education. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was in charge of the Educational Technology Lab. So I had to learn all the circuits properly so that we go and teach the same to the students, because they should know how to actually handle the educational technology gadgets, maybe, you know, whatever it is, from OHPs to LCDs to everything. And we were recording a lot of videos for the EMRC or maybe for the NIT and SIT institutes. So it was a very good experience. And last year also, when I was in the previous college, we did a lot of activities with the IoT, sir. So we had enhanced an IoT lab of our, we have Electronics and Communication Science department there in the graduation itself, BSc ECS. And we enhanced one lab for IoT where the children, they themselves created the IoT for the electrical devices inside the, you know, department, like fans and lights and all that, or some display boards that they wanted to keep in the college. All these things they were actually doing, sir. So it was really good. So they were experimenting it on a different way. So what we did is that we called Anna University, you know, it's a very good EMRC center. So we asked them to come here, and whatever experiments they were doing, we made our students do it, and we did some videos and posted. So that was a good experience for the students. So I really had a very good affiliation with the Electronics and Communication Sciences department a lot. And it's really good, sir, that you have given an elaborate kind of information
The
about
topic itself, it is a design process, madam. It will be somewhat boring one.
No, sir, it is interesting because the children have to learn about it. See, whether
Design
they
concepts
are
they have to know. That's why I have emphasized it on fundamentals.
Yeah, sir, it was really good. Whether they are into teaching or research or maybe into real-time hardware or whatever it is necessary for them to understand all these things. So amplification is one important topic in, you know, the science. So that's the reason why, you know, I thought that this presentation was really good. I was looking at almost all the slides and trying to understand maybe certain technical things, you know. As you said, dryness will be there. That's for the students, not for any one of us, because we know what exactly happens in the real situation.
Actually, same thing will happen while we are taking the subject also. No one will come ready to take this subject. So every semester we used to face this problem.
Yeah.
So most of the times I used to teach this subject.
Sir, one thing I would like to tell you, sir, because now we have media sciences more, and that is what attracts the students more. The public address system or the entire amplification process is for that. If they are necessarily thinking about going into media, they should first of all know about this. Their scientific knowledge of the base of amplification, whatever designing process that you have taught today, sir, that will really help them. That will really help them to do a lot of good work. We are very thankful to you, sir, for coming and sharing your knowledge with us. I hope the students and all the participants over the YouTube, whoever is into this program, will take a good advantage of the situation. And like we'll be having this link available always so that they can once again see this and then learn a lot. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. God bless all of us. Yeah.
Madam,
Thank
I will
you,
take
madam.
this opportunity to thank Principal Madam and Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College also. So thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Professor.
Thank you.
Now, my vote of thanks, and it is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who really worked hard and made this first day of two-day webinar series a grand success. On behalf of organizing committee, first of all, I would like to thank our chairman, our beloved chairman, Padma Shri Dr. Manchu Mohan Babu, and our revered CEO, Mr. Vishnu Manchu, for supporting us in all possible ways and making this event possible. An event like this cannot happen overnight. A lot of planning is required and a number of details are to be monitored. And I would like to thank our beloved principal, Dr. D. Ashalata Madam, for her inspiration and encouragement. And it is she who stimulated us to do our best. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to thank our UG and PG coordinator, Dr. P. Manohar sir, for his moral support and encouragement. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our first distinguished speaker, Dr. P.V. Ramana sir, Professor and Head, Department of ECE, Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, for his excellent presentation on role of electronics in daily life. I would like to thank our second eminent speaker, Dr. V.M.S.N. Pavan Kumar Chowdhury sir, Associate Professor, Department of ECE, Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, who gave a wonderful presentation on design of amplifiers and its applications. Both of them made today's sessions very meaningful and interesting. I would like to express our deep gratitude to Dr. V.R. Anita Madam, Professor, Department of ECE, Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, for her presence in this webinar. And Madam, we are eagerly waiting for your session on tomorrow. I express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. K. Srinivasulu, Assistant Professor in Electronics at Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College, the webinar coordinator who made this webinar a grand success. With a deep sense of appreciation, I thank all my colleagues and organizing committee members for their untiring efforts. I would like to thank media team of Sri Vidyaniketan Educational Trust for designing brochures and e-certificates. And I thank Mr. K. Manisankar, lecturer in computer science, for technical support. I thank the student coordinators, Ms. Soundarya Lahari, Ms. Akhila, and Ms. Akanksha for brilliant anchoring, publicity, and even for handling question and answer sessions marvelously. My heartfelt thanks to all the participants and students, without whom this event would not have been unfolded. Thank you, one and all. And over to Lahari.
I'm glad to thank all the participants for joining us today. Let us all meet once again tomorrow for the second day session in the two-day webinar program. The feedback form link will be shared via YouTube chat box after the completion of tomorrow's session. Until then, have a good day and thank you one and all.